You walk out to the herb bed in early September with your coffee. The rosemary is brown. The lavender crown is black. The chamomile row is still bare dirt after 3 weeks. You watered on schedule. You mulched the way every gardening video told you. After the second or third dead plant, you start wondering whether you simply cannot grow herbs. That is not the problem. One set of rules, 8 plants. 8 different ways those rules go wrong. Rosemary can drown from care. Chamomile can disappear because you covered the seed. Lavender can rot under the mulch meant to protect it. 8 herbs you can plant in August. The one mistake that takes each one down. And the fix before fall closes the window. The timing shifts with your climate. The mistakes do not. And one seed packet on the rack cannot deliver the herb most gardeners think is inside. That packet has some explaining to do. Number 1. Rosemary, the water schedule that drowns it. Rosemary is the first one, and it is the one that kills the most gardeners' confidence. You buy a healthy plant at Home Depot in June. By September, it is brown and crispy, and you have no idea what you did wrong. Here is what you did wrong. You cared for it. You watered it every 2 or 3 days, right alongside your tomatoes, thinking regular water equals a healthy plant. On rosemary, that schedule is a slow drowning. Think of it this way. Rosemary evolved on the rocky sea cliffs of the Mediterranean. Its roots run through grit and stone that drain in minutes after every rain. Give those same roots heavy garden dirt that stays wet for a week, and they cannot get air. They suffocate. Then Pythium and Rhizoctonia, the root rot fungi, move in from the wet soil. The plant collapses from the bottom up. What you see as brown needles in September started dying in July, underground, while you were still watering. That damage started underground weeks before you saw it. Here is the fix. Skip the bark mulch entirely. Use pea gravel or crushed granite, 1 to 2 inches deep, with a 2-inch clearance around the woody base. Water once every 7 to 10 days for the first month after planting, then only when the top 2 inches are dry, plus extra water during prolonged drought. Plant on a slight mound so water runs off instead of sitting, and buy a transplant, not a seed packet. A Bonnie plants rosemary at Walmart runs under $10, and from seed you are waiting 2 full seasons to reach the same size. The zone line matters here. Rosemary is an outdoor perennial in zone 7 through 10. If you are in zone 6 or colder, grow it in a 2-gallon container and bring it inside before the first hard freeze. 2 cultivars, ARP and Hill Hardy, will hold in zone 6B if you must plant in the ground. Plant it in August, only where you still have at least 6 weeks before the average first freeze. In hotter zones 8 through 10, wait until the worst heat breaks. Of everything on this list, this is the one I would not skip once you understand it. One correct planting is a 5 to 20-year hedge in the right zone. You did not kill it with neglect, you killed it with attention. Number 2. German chamomile. The seed that needs light, not soil. Chamomile comes next, and this one gets a lot of gardeners because it looks like a beginner-proof herb. Cheap seed packet, easy tea, self-sows once established. But most people who try it get exactly nothing out of the ground, and they never figure out why. If you have ever bought a chamomile seed packet, followed the standard instructions to lightly cover with soil, and watched nothing come up for 3 weeks, this is why. You buried it. Here is the piece most guides leave out. Chamomile is photoblastic. The seed needs light hitting its coat to trigger germination. Picture a tiny lamp waiting for a photon to switch it on. Bury that seed under 1/8 of an inch of soil and you turn the lamp off. It just sits there. The embryo inside has enough stored energy to push a hair's breadth of soil and no more. Nothing happens. The seed eventually rots. The seed packet rarely explains how little soil this seed can fight through. So the move is dead simple. Sprinkle the seeds on top of moist soil. press them gently with your palm. Contact only, do not cover. Mist with a spray bottle every morning for 7 to 14 days until you see germination. For August planting in zones 5 through 9, direct sow mid to late August for October and November bloom. In colder zones, start indoors 6 to 8 weeks before your last spring frost the following year. One important distinction. This is German chamomile, the annual tea variety, hardy zone 3 to 9. Roman chamomile is a low perennial ground cover for zone 4 to 8, usually started from nursery divisions instead of seed. The seed was not defective. The gardener followed the wrong rule. Number 3. Sweet marjoram, the oregano twin that dies at first frost. Marjoram is one people confuse with oregano because they look almost identical at the nursery. Same tag color, same fuzzy little leaves, similar smell if you crush a leaf. But they are two different species, and one of them is going to die on you the first cold snap in fall. If your marjoram disappears at the first hard freeze, you did not fail. You planted a tender species. I used to lump these two together myself until I looked at the Latin names. Oregano is Origanum vulgare, hardy to zone 4. Sweet marjoram is Origanum majorana, hardy only to zone 9 and 10. Same genus, opposite winter tolerance. Picture two siblings. One grew up in the Greek mountains, tough. One grew up in the Cyprus lowlands, tender. That is oregano and marjoram. If your taggle says Origanum majorana, your first hard freeze ends the season. The play here is not to fight it. In zone 8 and colder, plant marjoram as an annual from day 1. Plant a transplant in early to mid-August. In late September or early October, right before your first frost, harvest the whole plant. Hang it upside down in a dry spot for 2 weeks. That gives you a jar of dried marjoram to cook with all winter. If you want the plant to survive, use a container that comes indoors before frost. In zone 9 or 10, marjoram will overwinter outdoors and you can treat it exactly like oregano. Everywhere else, plant around one growing season. Look at the Latin name on the tag, not the color of the label. But the next one on this list breaks every mulching rule you have ever been taught. It is the mistake that costs gardeners more heartbreak than any other herb on this list. Number 4. Lavender, the mulch that rots the crown. Lavender is where gardeners really get their hearts broken. They spend $8 on a nursery plant, put it in a nice spot, mulch it beautifully, water it in, and by August of the next year the crown is black and the plant is done. And the mulch is what killed it. A woman wrote to me from Alabama, a retired teacher with a small herb garden by her back porch. She had killed 3 lavender plants at $8 each before someone at the co-op told her about the pea gravel. She said the worst part was that every one of those plants looked healthy going into the ground. Here is Flip. Bark mulch is not protection for lavender. It is a wet blanket. Lavender evolved on dry limestone hillsides in the Mediterranean. The soil surface baked and drained fast between rains. That is the environment its crown expects. The woody transition where stem meets root. Drape wet bark across that crown for a season and you hand fungal pathogens a home. Phytophthora, Pythium, Fusarium. They move in from decomposing bark and rot the crown from the outside in. That black crown did not happen overnight. Colorado State Extension says to keep any mulch, rock, or bark away from the lavender crown. The crown needs air, not a damp collar. So here is what to do. Use pea gravel or crushed granite, 1 to 2 inches deep. A half cubic foot bag at Home Depot runs about $5 to $7 and covers a single plant. Keep a 2 to 4 inch ring of bare soil around the crown. No mulch touching the woody base. Plant on a slight mound so water drains away. In humid zones like the South, the Gulf Coast, or the Mid-Atlantic, drainage matters more than sun. Even 4 or 5 hours of morning sun works if the soil drains fast. Grow mulched or hidcote if you are in zone 5 through 8. Both are compact English lavender, 12 to 18 inches at maturity, and they hold up best for tea or cooking use. Set the transplant in during the cooler half of August, with at least 6 weeks before your local first freeze. If you are in a dry Mediterranean climate, California interior, Arizona, western Colorado, you have more room for error because the climate does the drainage work. Everywhere else, this rule matters. The bark mulch was not helping. The bark mulch was the murder weapon. If that lavender mistake just saved you the $8 you were about to spend replacing another dead plant this fall, subscribe and hit the bell. There is a new one every couple of weeks, and they all cost you nothing to watch. Number 5. Mint, the underground network that escapes every barrier. Mint comes with a warning almost every gardener has heard and still ignores. What most people underestimate is what mint actually is under the ground. It is not really a plant. It is a network. You dig a nice spot in the corner of the vegetable bed next to the fence, thinking this will be perfect for one mint plant. Fast forward 3 summers. The mint is in the tomatoes. The mint is along the fence line. The mint is coming up in your lawn 15 feet away, and you still have a mint plant in that corner. What nobody sees is the rhizome network underneath. Rhizomes are underground stems, not roots. They travel 6 to 12 inches down, run horizontally for feet, then send up a new stem anywhere. Cold winters do not stop them, and the mower on your lawn does not stop them either. The move that works is the sunken pot method. Grow mint in a 3 to 5 gallon plastic pot, about $5 or $6 at Home Depot. Before you set it in the ground, drop a flat paving stone or a large rock in the bottom of the hole. That blocks rhizomes from escaping through the drainage. Sink the pot with the rim sticking 2 inches above the soil line so surface runners cannot climb over. Every 4 to 6 weeks, give the pot a quarter turn to break any roots sneaking out. Peppermint and spearmint both hold zone 3 to 9. If you have hard clay or shallow topsoil, the method works even better because rhizomes have less room to travel below. August planting works across most of zones 3 through 9, but use your local first freeze date, not the zone number alone. Low maintenance, not no maintenance. You do not plant mint, you install it. Number 6. Lemon balm, the full sun that turns tea bitter. If you have grown lemon balm in a full sun bed, tasted the leaves in July, and thought this tastes off, the plant is telling you what is wrong. Move it. Lemon balm is one of the easiest herbs alive, which is exactly why most people mistreat it. They plant it in the same full sun spot they put everything else. The plant lives, technically, but the leaves turn bitter, the plant bolts in July, and the whole tea season is ruined. Here is the reason this matters. Lemon balm is a cool weather grower. Its best flavor comes between 60 and 75 degrees. In hot climates, hard afternoon sun can scorch the leaves and push lemon balm toward flowering sooner. Once it flowers, the leaves lose the soft flavor you planted it for. Above 85. The plant also flowers early and goes to seed, and midsummer you get partial dieback where the crown thins out. So the move is simple. In zone 7 and warmer, plant lemon balm in afternoon shade. 4 to 6 hours of morning sun is the sweet spot. Space it 18 to 24 inches apart for airflow. Divide every 2 to 3 years in fall. Otherwise, the center dies out after year 4. Plant a transplant in mid to late August in zone 4 through 9 so the roots have 6 to 8 weeks before dormancy. If your summer afternoons regularly stay below the mid-80s, full sun works. Otherwise, give lemon balm afternoon shade. This is a Zone 7 rule. Every summer of bitter tea is a summer you paid the grocery store instead of your yard. But the next one is the one that made me question everything I thought I knew about growing herbs from seed. What most gardeners think is tarragon in their garden is not actually tarragon at all. Number 7. French tarragon. The seed packet that lies to you. Now we get to the one that stopped me cold when I first learned it. If you have ever bought a packet of tarragon seed, planted it, waited 3 months, tasted a leaf, and thought this is not what tarragon tastes like, you were right. Because what you grew was not French tarragon. An old cook I know, guy who worked professional kitchens for 40 years, pulled me aside one afternoon at the Saturday farmer's market. He walked me over to the seed rack, picked up the packet labeled tarragon, held it up, and said one thing. "This isn't French tarragon." I stood there for a minute processing that. He had watched home gardeners try to grow the seed for years, wondering why theirs never tasted like restaurant tarragon. Here is what the seed packet does not tell you. French tarragon, the herb every chef reaches for, has sterile flowers. It cannot make viable seed, which means every packet on every seed rack labeled tarragon is actually Russian tarragon, a different subspecies. Same genus, coarser leaves, borderline flavorless where French tarragon is sharp and unmistakable. Seed cannot give you the plant you came for. Illinois Extension puts it flat out. The seed on the rack is Russian tarragon, and its culinary use is considered inferior. Buy the live French plant. Buy a live French tarragon transplant from a specialty herb nursery. Territorial Seed in Oregon and Clover's Garden on Amazon are two I trust. Or ask a gardener friend who already grows French tarragon for a division in spring, which costs you nothing. You will pay a few dollars more than the packet at Home Depot, but that packet grows a plant you cannot cook with anyway. A live French tarragon lasts 3 to 4 years and pays for itself the first dinner it seasons. Propagate future plants by root division in spring only. And use a knife, not a shovel. The roots are brittle. August is the planting window for zone 4 through 7. Get the transplant in the ground before mid-August so roots establish before dormancy. Zone 8 and warmer needs afternoon shade in summer to prevent bolting. If you cannot find one locally, mail order works fine, but plant it the same week the box arrives. The plants ship a little stressed. If you have never tasted French tarragon, you have not really tasted tarragon. Number 8. Fennel, the herb with a 10-foot kill zone. Last one on the list is fennel, and this is a plant with a secret. Fennel looks harmless, smells like licorice, and pulls in swallowtail butterflies. And in the wrong spot. It is a slow-motion killer of everything you planted nearby. The first year I grew Florence fennel. I stuck it right next to my sun gold tomatoes because it was the last empty spot in the bed. By August, those sun golds were half the size of the ones I had on the other side of the yard. Same variety, same watering, same everything else. I dug the fennel out that fall and never planted it near another vegetable again. Now it lives in a bed all by itself, 10 feet from anything I actually want to grow food from. Everyone talks about companion planting. Nobody talks about the plants that need to be quarantined. Fennel roots release allelochemicals, biochemical compounds that shut down germination and growth in nearby plants. The plant looks small above ground. Below ground, its chemical footprint reaches farther than most gardeners expect. The exact radius varies by soil, but keeping fennel in its own space is the safe move. If you have tomatoes, peppers, beans, dill, coriander, or most brassicas nearby, they all pull back when fennel is close. Nightshades like tomatoes and peppers are among the plants gardeners commonly keep away from fennel, so the fix is a quarantine zone. Dedicate a bed at least 10 feet from any tomato, pepper, bean, dill, coriander, or basil. If your yard is small and you cannot spare that distance, grow fennel in a 5 to 7 gallon container completely separate from the vegetable garden. In a container, the effect is contained to that pot's soil, which is usually enough. For a perennial landscape feature that draws swallowtail butterflies, plant bronze fennel, Feniculum vulgare purpureum, hardy to zone 4. For fall bulbs, Direct sow Florence fennel like Zephafino in late August for October harvest in zones 7 through 9. Fennel is not a bad plant, it just needs its own zip code. The problem was never a black thumb. It was using one garden rule on 8 plants that do not live by the same rules. The nursery tag gives you the name. It rarely tells you the mistake that kills the plant. This Saturday, check every tarragon label at the nursery. Buy only a live plant marked French tarragon, Artemisia dracunculus var sativa. If the shelf has seed packets only, leave them there. One correct planting this month is worth 10 wrong ones next spring. The garden does not care how much you spend. It cares whether you gave the right plant the right conditions in the right week. Every herb on this list dies for the same reason: a gardener who cared, but cared the wrong way.